My parents told me there wouldn't be enough space for me at the annual family retreat. Then they invited 118 people. All 6 of my siblings, their families, in-laws, even cousins and friends. I didn't say a word. I took action instead. 9 hours later, my mom was screaming. My friend Mia asked like she was commenting on the weather. I blinked. What retreat? She laughed a little, then tilted her head. Your sister posted about it. It looked amazing, matching shirts and everything. She pulled out her phone and there it was. A photo taken from above. A drone shot, obviously. A sprawling resort tucked against a lake. 118 people posed in tidy rows like someone was trying to break a family record. A banner stretched across the middle. 2025 Annual Family Retreat. I recognized every single face. My parents front and center, my 6 siblings, their partners, their kids. A few cousins I hadn't seen in years, even the in-laws. There was a color scheme. There were laminated name tags. Everyone, except me. Oh, I said lightly, forcing a smile. Yeah, I wasn't there. Technically, Mia blinked. Oh, got it, got it. She started to say something else, but I waved it off with a small shrug and a sip of wine. It didn't seem worth explaining. Not there, not with 6 people chatting about oat milk and vacation deals across the table. Not with the shrimp skewers still going around like everything was normal. So I did what I've done for years. I smiled. I nodded. I laughed at a story I wasn't really listening to. I made eye contact, tilted my head. I was composed. My heart, on the other hand, was sprinting in circles like it had just remembered something urgent. 10 minutes later, I excused myself to the bathroom. The hallway light buzzed overhead. I closed the door, locked it quietly, and sat on the edge of the tub. It smelled like lavender soap and someone's hair gel. I opened my phone. Instagram first. There were photos, dozens of them, lakeside branches, campfire nights, my brothers holding toddlers, my sisters in matching sundresses with retreat crew hats. One shot of my parents slow dancing under string lights. Someone had coordinated all this. A spreadsheet existed. This wasn't casual. I checked my sister's story. There was even a hashtag. Then I remembered the phone call. A few weeks earlier, I'd asked my mom offhandedly, "Are we doing anything this year for the retreat?" She'd sounded rushed. "We're just keeping it small," she said. "Not enough space for everyone. Not enough space." Right. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. She said it so breezily, and I've been trained in that quiet middle child way not to push. Not to take up space, so I didn't ask follow-up questions. I didn't ask for dates. I didn't ask who was going. I just assumed I'd hear if something was happening. I kept scrolling. 118 people. A group photo where my absence stood out like a missing tooth. And the stupidest part was, this wasn't even new. When I was 10, there was a cousin's birthday party that got too full for me. When I was 15, I found out the family went to a lake house on the weekend. My name wasn't on the group message. And once, I remember helping pack favor bags for one of these retreats. I ironed the stupid T-shirts. And yet here I was, still surprised. Still hoping, I guess. The tears came fast. Quiet, controlled. I didn't sob. That would have felt too theatrical. No, these were the kind of tears that slip out before you even realize they've started. Not loud enough to hear, just enough to sting. There was a knock on the bathroom door. "You okay?" Mia's voice. I cleared my throat. "Yeah, stomach thing, be right out." She paused. "Want me to get you anything?" "No, I'm good, thanks." I didn't move for another minute. Then I stood, washed my face, and tried to repair the damage. My mascara had smudged just slightly. I wiped under my eyes with a piece of toilet paper that shredded immediately and laughed a little at myself. In the mirror, I didn't look angry or sad, just blank. I pulled my shoulders back, gave myself a practiced smile. Not warm, not fake, just enough to pass. And then I stepped back out into the hallway like I hadn't just had my stomach drop through the floor. The dinner party was still in full swing. Someone was laughing. Someone was opening a bottle of wine. Someone was explaining the best way to roast cauliflower. I sat back down, accepted dessert, smiled, played normal. Nobody noticed. But something had shifted. Something deep. I didn't need to explain what they did. I didn't even need to ask why. I didn't know it at the time, but I was 24 hours away from doing something that would change everything. I used to think loneliness was something that happened when you had no one. Turns out, it's much worse when you're surrounded by people, family even, and still feel like an uninvited guest in your own life. I'm number 4 out of 7. That's not middle child. That's the median. That's, we forgot she was in the car territory, which, by the way, did happen once. They remembered before leaving the parking lot, so I guess it doesn't count. My family is big, loud, and musical. Like some chaotic Von Trapp reboot, minus the Nazis, but still kind of oppressive. Everyone sings. Some play instruments. 2 have made careers in music. Family dinners came with harmonies. Talent shows were mandatory. Group performances were recorded and uploaded to YouTube. I'm tone deaf. I didn't know that for a while. I thought I was normal. I sang in the shower, hummed along in the car. Then one day, around age 7, I joined in during a birthday chorus, and my older sister winced like I'd stabbed her with a flute. "Clara, please," she said. "You're flattening everything." I didn't know what that meant, but the laughter told me enough. It became a running gag. Clara, the noise polluter. Clara, the vibe killer. At one point my brother made a chart ranking all 7 siblings by musical ability. I wasn't on it. The caption said, "Some things can't be measured." I used to try and be funny. I thought that was the one other thing I could maybe do, but my jokes always landed flat. Dry humor doesn't hit well in a room full of people who think slapstick is the pinnacle of sophistication. They coined a term, Clara joke. It meant a joke no one laughs at. We even used it on each other. That was such a Clara joke. They'd grown, even when I wasn't in the room. One time I asked my mom if she thought I was funny. She smiled like I'd asked if I had wings. "You're clever," she said, "but you're not exactly entertaining." I stopped trying after that. At school, I'd test out my humor with friends but always pulled back, afraid of the silence. I learned to be quiet, helpful, pleasant. That worked better. Years later, I started writing things down. Funny thoughts, mostly. Bits of awkwardness turned into sketches. Observations that made me laugh. I still didn't think of myself as a funny person. Just someone trying to figure out why nothing ever felt quite right. Then one day I tried performing them. Nothing major. Local open mic night. Tiny venue. Bad lighting. A mic that crackled if you breathed wrong. But the crowd laughed, not politely, not pity laughed, actual surprised laughter. I got addicted immediately. It took months before I told anyone in my family. I'd been performing semi-regularly at that point. Nothing viral. Nothing major. But real people, real laughs, real sets. It felt like something. I still remember the day I mentioned it. We were sitting around after dinner, my dad retelling some story for the 3rd time. And everyone playing their usual roles. I cleared my throat, "So I've been doing some comedy." They blinked at me. "Like performing?" My younger sister asked, smirking. "Yeah, stand up. A little club downtown." My brother actually laughed. "You. On stage?" "Well, it's not a stadium," I said. "It's mostly sticky floors and expired beer." "But yes, a stage." They laughed again. Not in a cruel way. In the way you laugh when someone tells you they're training for space camp at 30. "You've never been funny," my mom said gently. "But that's sweet. It's good to have hobbies." I wanted to believe it was just a surprise. That once they saw me perform, they'd get it. They'd be proud. Maybe even change how they saw me. Maybe the label of unfunny would finally get scratched off. I invited them. I even picked a good show. Friday night. Decent turnout. A supportive crowd. I wore a new top, rehearsed my set to death, and got there early to claim seats. I kept glancing at the door as people filtered in. A couple from my last set waved. Someone complimented my shoes. The room filled slowly but steadily, and I kept checking the door, right up until the host said my name. No one came. I scanned the room one last time as I walked up. Not a single familiar face. It hit me harder than I thought it would. Not like a punch, but like a vacuum. Like all the air in the room suddenly decided to be somewhere else. But I smiled. I opened with a throwaway line, got a laugh, found my rhythm, and I crushed it. That night, someone came up and told me they hadn't laughed like that in months. Another asked where they could find me online. I should have felt proud, but all I could think about was the empty seat in the 3rd row I'd reserved for my mom. Someone once said that the life of a comedian is making other people laugh while you're crying inside. That night, it felt especially true. After that, I stopped inviting them, not out of spite. Out of self-preservation, they never asked about it again. Occasionally, someone would mention a new song they'd released, or a relative who had booked a tour, and someone would say, Clara's got her little comedy thing, like I was knitting hats for squirrels. I still smiled, nodded, and laughed at their jokes. But inside, something shifted. I stopped hoping they'd show up. I stopped expecting the punchline to be anything but me. I didn't plan to do it. That's the funny part. Or the ironic part, or maybe just the human part. After I found out about the retreat, the one my entire family attended while I stayed home eating leftovers and pretending not to care, I went home, opened my laptop, and stared at a blinking cursor for 20 minutes. Then I wrote something, not my usual kind of funny, not polished, just honest. The next night I had a set at the club. I was going to do my usual material. Awkward dating stories, my theory that oat milk is just cardboard in liquid form, and how people who say "let's circle back" deserve a special corner in HLL. But when they called my name, I left the notes in my bag and walked on stage with something new. Most comedians, I said into the mic, get into stand-up because their families laughed at their jokes. I got into comedy because mine didn't. At all, they actually created a category for it. Clara jokes, like a dad joke but meaner, and apparently contagious people laughed, so I kept going. In my house, if you told a bad joke, it wasn't just a flop. It was a full-blown scandal. I should have had my own documentary, The Girl Who Wasn't Funny. That one got applause. I talked about how my siblings could all sing, how even the toddlers in the family had rhythm, and how I was basically the designated audience member. The family hype woman, minus the hype. And then I said it. Last week, my parents told me there wasn't enough space for me at the annual family retreat. Then they invited 118 people. That line got a full gasp laugh combo. My favorite reaction. I let it hang in the air a second longer. So, yeah, I guess there wasn't enough space. Not at the resort. Just in their idea of who belongs, I got off stage to a standing ovation. But I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like I'd just yanked out a splinter that had been festering under my skin for years. It hurt, but I could finally breathe. The next morning at 7:03 a.m., my phone rang. My mother's name is on the screen. I let it ring. Then it rang again, and again. The fifth time, I picked it up. Mostly out of morbid curiosity, she didn't say hello, she didn't pause, she went straight into screaming. "How dare you," she said. "Someone saw your little show," she hissed. "They told us what you said. You humiliated us. Not okay." Not even a half-hearted question about what I'd been thinking. Just full-throttle, high-volume fury. "It was a 10-minute set," I said. "I didn't name names." "You didn't have to," she snapped. "Everyone knows who we are. Your siblings have reputations to protect. You're dragging us through the mud just because you didn't get your way. You mean just because I wasn't invited?" I said dryly. "Or are we still pretending that didn't happen?" She didn't answer. "Do you know what your brother said?" She continued. "He said he might lose a gig over this, and your sister is mortified. She says people are calling her fake online. So, are you saying people believed me?" Silence. "I see," she hung up. I didn't cry, I didn't even feel angry. I felt something colder than that, like I'd just been told, for the 100th time, that their image was more important than me. By lunchtime, the group messages started blowing up. My sister sent a novel-length rant about how she'd always supported me, which was hilarious considering she once told a boyfriend I was too emotionally flat to be funny. My brother sent me a voice memo that sounded like a press release wrapped in passive aggression. "I think it's really toxic that you're bringing family stuff into your brand. You've always struggled with boundaries." Right, boundaries. Like the one that said I shouldn't come to a retreat with 118 people because I took up too much space. A cousin chimed in to say she thought I was exaggerating. "It was probably just a misunderstanding," she said. Like I'd misread an accidental mass invitation to everyone but me. One aunt said she was praying for me, another message to say I'd broken my mother's heart. And here's the thing. Part of me wanted to explain, to clarify. To say, hey, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just trying to finally tell the truth. But the truth is, they weren't asking for clarification. They were asking me to shut up. To play the quiet middle child who takes the hit and keeps the peace. And I was tired. That night, I filmed a video. It wasn't a stand set. It wasn't a sketch. It was just me, sitting on my couch in a hoodie, holding a mug I wasn't drinking from. "Hi," I said. "So I guess some of you have seen my latest set." And apparently it upset some people. I paused, took a breath. Here's the thing. If your family tells you your jokes aren't funny for 20 years, and then one night, hundreds of strangers laugh until they cry, you're allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to heal however you need to. I didn't get loud. I didn't name anyone. I didn't need to. I just told the truth. I used to think I was the least funny person in the world, because my family said so. And then I stepped on stage and people laughed. At me, with me, for me. And I realized I wasn't unfunny. I just wasn't their kind of funny, and maybe that's okay. I looked into the camera. Also, I added, if you throw a 118-person retreat and say there's no space for your daughter, maybe don't act shocked when she talks about it. I posted it, closed my laptop, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I needed to brace myself. Elsa's reaction. I just sat there and waited. The video didn't just land. It detonated. I posted it at midnight and figured it might get a few thousand views, maybe even go a little viral. I underestimated people's appetite for dry, unflinching honesty delivered in a hoodie. By noon, it had over 300 views. By 6 p.m., I was trending under the hashtag Clara Said It. By the next morning, it hit 500,000. And by the time I opened my front door to grab coffee, there they were. My parents, two of my siblings, standing on my porch like I was the final boss in a video game they never bothered to level up for. You need to take it down, my dad said without a hello. He was red-faced. My mom was tight-lipped and visibly vibrating. My brother, let's call him Chad because of course it's Chad, stood with his arms crossed like he was posing for a disciplinary poster. You've humiliated this family, my mother said. You made us a joke. I didn't make you a joke, I said. Calm as a grave. You did. I just put it in a punchline. Chad stepped forward. You can't just post things like that without consequences. It's defamatory. You didn't seem to mind when I invited you to my shows and nobody showed up. I replied. Now suddenly you're subscribers. We came here to reason with you. My dad said, glancing toward the neighbor's yard. Can we come in? No, I said, flat. And just a heads up, if you start yelling, I will film you and I'll post it. They blinked like I'd slapped them. You're threatening your own family. My mom gasped. No, I said. I'm protecting myself from the same people who cut me out of a 118-person retreat and then got mad when I mentioned it on stage. Chad muttered something under his breath. I raised my phone and opened the camera. They backed off like I'd brandished a weapon. By now, I said, and shut the door. They stood there for a few more seconds. I watched from the peephole. My mom looked like she wanted to scream. My dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Chad looked like he wanted to sue someone, which turned out to be prophetic. Because 3 days later, I got a legal letter. Well, legal-ish. Typed in Times New Roman with weird spacing and more typos than a phishing scam. Sent via email with the subject line, Urgent Family Concern. It was from Chad. Apparently, he decided to draft a cease and desist letter demanding I take the video down immediately or face legal repercussions for deformation. Yes, deformation. I didn't even know whether to be insulted or impressed. To be clear, Chad does have a law degree, but it's in international trade law, and he currently works in corporate compliance for a shipping company. The most aggressive thing he's ever used is probably a broken office chair. I didn't respond to the letter, I made a video instead. I didn't name him. I didn't show the actual document. I just read a totally fictional cease and desist letter with comical typos and added dramatic music for flair. I've been asked to remove my video, I said in the voiceover, because apparently, pointing out that I wasn't invited to my own family's retreat is now a federal crime. Crime. Somewhere, the First Amendment is weeping. The video went up on a Thursday. By Friday, I had 900 views and 3 interview requests. People loved it, especially the deadpan delivery and the fake signature I read aloud. Respectfully yours, Chad the Enforcer. Eskio. On Saturday, I blocked everyone. All of them. I'd held out hope that maybe, just maybe, someone in the family would reach out and say, hey, we messed up, or I see you now. But no, the messages were all about damage control, about optics, about embarrassment. No one said sorry. No one asked how I felt, so I gave them the silence they never earned but definitely deserved. Group chats, I'm excited. Facebook, locked. Instagram, archived. Even Spotify, scrubbed of every playlist we'd ever shared. My mom sent me one final message before she got blocked. You've made a laughingstock of your own family. I hope you're proud. And the thing is, I wasn't proud. Not exactly. But I wasn't ashamed either. I was free. The fallout was ugly. Some of my siblings who work in music started losing small contracts. Apparently, people didn't want to be associated with a family being dragged in the public eye. Which is ironic, because suddenly they were also getting podcast invites. Every minor influencer with a podcast titled Let's Talk About It or Raw and Real wanted them to discuss growing up with Clara. A few accepted. They didn't use my name directly, but let's just say when your brother goes on a podcast called Family First and says, some people just thrive on playing the victim. It's not exactly a mystery who he means. Meanwhile, YouTubers did what YouTubers do best. They dug. Someone found my mom's Facebook. Another found the resort name on a cousin's tagged photo and connected the dots. Soon, a few creators started reaching out to the family. One even showed up at their house to ask for a comment. 2 weeks later, my parents sold the house. The official reason was downsizing, but we both know better. They moved to another town quietly. One of my sisters deleted her social media. Another posted a vague statement about taking a break from public life. And me, I didn't say a word. I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I just kept making videos. Not about them, at least not directly. Just stories, observations, skits. The kind of things that made people feel seen made them laugh. And when I looked at the comments, I saw something I never got growing up. Relatable. Thanks for saying what I couldn't. I thought I was the only one. And for the first time I felt not alone, not unwanted, not a Clara joke. Just Clara, and that was enough. Fast forward a year. I still have no contact with my family, and honestly I don't miss the noise. I've got real friends now. People who laugh with me, not at me. People who see me. And the comedy. It took off. I quit my day job, started touring, and for the first time I woke up excited about what I do. People come up to me after shows and say, I thought it was just me. It never is.